You go and you order a pizza. Gets delivered in 30 minutes or less. That's great. But what you don't know is that pizza took 24 hours to make, most likely, and it is that 24 hours that makes it good. So if the majority of that time is just the dough resting in the fridge, then what about all the other components? The sauce, the cheese, the meat, all the little things that go on the pizza that make it great. What happens if we take a pizza and stretch the time over the course of over 300 hours of work? Does that make it better? Is it worth it? That's what we're here to find out today. So with all that being said, let's make this, shall we? Oh, whoa, studio's not done yet, but the book is Texture Over Taste, available for pre-order now. The link is in the description. Please pre-order. It's very important for the pre-order phase. It's really, really helpful for me, it's really helpful for the team, and it's helpful for the book. Link in the description.
You might be thinking, how in the world could we make a pizza that takes over 350 hours to make? Well, as a matter of fact, this pizza was closer to nearly 370 hours. Let's begin. There's no pizza with no toppings, so let's start with Daddy's meat. I wanted an Italian-inspired bacon that wasn't pancetta, so homemade porchetta-infused bacon. Raw pork belly, around 4.5 pounds or 2 kilos of it. Ideally, you want skin on, but skin off is fine too. In a small bowl, combine exactly 45 grams of salt, 30 grams of dark brown sugar, and 5 grams of Prague powder number 1, which is our curing agent. No matter what, please weigh your curing salt. It's a dangerous product if not used properly, but a necessity for the curing. Plus, you're gonna wash it off at the end, so don't be worried. Now mix all that together, season your pork all over with your cure. Try to get as much of it to stick as possible. Pop that bad boy into a large gallon-sized bag, close it shut. Do not forget to put your date on the bag. It's for safety. And place in the fridge for 6 to 7 days. Mine was done curing at around day 6. That puts us at 144 hours. Now, once it's nice and firm like this, take it out, hose your hog off, make a porchetta seasoning by finely chopping a 1/4 cup or 12 grams of fresh thyme leaves, a 1/4 cup or 11 grams of fresh rosemary leaves, but not the stems. Separately crush it, 4 cloves of garlic, add a generous pinch of salt to the garlic to help break it down a bit better, and finally chop the garlic, toss it together, follow it with the zest of 1 orange, finally chop that in there, add a 1/2 teaspoon or 1 gram of red pepper flakes. Then add 1/2 teaspoon or 1 gram of ground nutmeg. Now use all that to season your pork on every single surface. Once it's adhered, pop that into a smoker set to 250 Fahrenheit or an oven, that's totally fine, until it reaches an internal temperature of about 160 Fahrenheit, about 4 to 5 hours. Then remove and chill in the fridge for at least 6 to 12 hours. Now with all that, we're totaled at around 160 hours for our bacon. Once it's been chilled, it's ready for use. Moving on to our sauce. For everyone who asked for Fermentation Friday to come back, this little moment right here is for you. It's actually for everyone because it's one of the finest pizza sauces I've ever made. First, you need about a 3-quart container. It could be a deli like this or a very large jar. To that, you're gonna add 1,000 grams of water and 20 grams of kosher salt. Look, we're using grams, so we have an exact percentage here. Again, this is fermentation. Please be exact. Give that a whisk until dissolved, then add 5 quartered heirloom tomatoes, 5 red long peppers, stemmed and cut in half. I'm pretty sure that's what these are called, but I'll be honest, I don't really know. You could use 3 red jalapenos, 3 red Fresno chilies, work with what you got. Just expect spice levels to undulate. 3 cloves of whole garlic, and here's a little trick. Adhere a layer of plastic wrap on top to keep the water tension above the vegetables. That's fancy talk for keep the veggies submerged. Wait, these are fruit? Are chilies a fruit? Oh my God, they are. So are the tomatoes. We're making a little garlic fruit sauce. Anyway, you may need to add a lightweight, such as a small container filled with a little bit of water to keep them submerged. Now top with cheesecloth, use a piece of kitchen twine to adhere, to tie it on, and this is the most important step of all time. Please label with today's date. Okay, you're letting this sit out for 5 full days. You need to know wait a minute, what was the day that I did this? Yeah, exactly, you gotta remember. Now after 5 days, we have officially added another 120 hours to our time, putting us at a grand total of 280 hours out of our 350-hour plus trek. These are no longer tomatoes. Well, actually, they are, but they're just lacto-fermented, which has brought out more flavors. Now, the making of the sauce is easy. Fish out all the solids from your ferment, pop it into a blender, and start blending on high speed. Add 2 tablespoons or 25 grams of extra virgin olive oil and 1 tablespoon of tomato paste. Blend that all together till as smooth as possible. Taste and adjust salt if needed, and well, that's it. You want to preserve the flavors from that ferment until we blast them in our oven. Shout out to my boys at Ghazni. Let's talk dough. One of the most requested bread recipes of mine is a sourdough pizza, and well, Papa is here to give you a gift. This sourdough pizza dough. In order to make the sourdough, you need to begin with a fully matured sourdough starter. That means feed it and let it sit for 24 hours at room temperature, and then you can use it. So now we're at 304 hours. Once your starter is mature, get a large bowl and add 540 grams of water at 95 Fahrenheit. Yes, we gotta use grams here. Look, a good pizza needs a precision. Sorry to the Italian homies watching. Now add 2 grams of instant yeast and 40 grams of mature sourdough starter. Mix that by hand until incorporated, and then mix in 16 grams of fine sea salt. No, it doesn't kill the yeast. The yeast is just fine. Okay, the salt's just gonna slow the fermentation slightly, which we want. Mix that by hand. Now follow that with 800 grams of double O tipo flour. That's just a special Italian pizza flour. You can find it at many grocery stores. Whole Foods has it. And 25 grams of whole wheat flour. Mix that bad boy for about a minute or until you get a shaggy dough, and then knead for 3 to 4 more minutes or until it begins to turn smooth. Yes, it'll start sticky, but then as you knead, it'll become nice and supple and release from your hand beautifully. Grease your bowl with extra virgin olive oil. Swirl your ball to coat. Now cover that with plastic wrap. Pop it in the fridge for 14 hours to rise, which puts us at 318 hours. But we've still got a long way to go until we get to over 350. Now once your dough has risen in the fridge, take that bad boy out, divide it evenly into 5 pieces, around 250 grams each. Generously dust a proofing container or a sheet tray with flour. Shape your pieces of dough into doit balls. Place evenly spaced apart. Nice. Cover with the lid or grease plastic wrap and proof for 6 hours at room temperature. Now we stand at 324 hours total. Now at this point, once those are done proofing, we're ready to move on. So let's finish up our toppings. Now, although we're putting Mezzi mozzarella here, I thought we need a little something more special in conjunction with that. Ricotta. In a medium sauce pot, add half a gallon or a little over 1 3/4 liter of milk. Heat that bad boy to exactly 180 Fahrenheit or 83 degrees Celsius. Gently stir in a 1/4 cup or 60 milliliters of lemon juice. Let that cook and sit at that 180 Fahrenheit temperature, stirring occasionally for 40 minutes. Now cut off the heat, let that cool slightly, then ladle into a fine mesh sieve lined with cheesecloth. Set over a container or a large bowl to catch the drainage. Once that's drained for about 5 minutes, grab all the edges of your cheesecloth, wrap together, and tie it shut with kitchen twine, leaving a little bit of length to the twine so you can then wrap that around the handle of a cabinet and let it hang over a bowl. Then you just let it drip for 1 to 1.5 hours, which puts you roughly at around 2 hours total for your ricotta. So that leaves us at 326 hours. Still, we have some way to go to get to 350 hours. Mind you, I'm not including cook time whatsoever because, well, there's not that much cook time at all. So we're pretty much ready to assemble. First, get yourself about 1 cup or 8 ounces or 225 grams of your bacon cut into 1/2-inch cubes. Place it in a 10-inch skillet, set over medium-low, and cook, stirring often for 5 to 7 minutes or until almost GBD. That's golden brown delicious, but with a bit less color. If you cook it all the way through, then it's probably gonna burn when you bake it. Drain through a fine mesh strainer, and it's done. Again, that time I'm not even counting. Now, to assemble and bake, dust your proofed balls with all-purpose flour. Dust a work surface, also with all-purpose flour. Add a ball to your work surface, and then using a fist, punch down the center to get a very thin ring around the whole dough. That's gonna become what's known as the pizza's crust. At that point, drape the dough around your closed fist and gently rotate around the perimeter to lightly stretch it, letting gravity do the work for you until you get it about 10 inches wide. At that point, stretch it a bit with your hands on the board, flouring as needed until you get in an 11 to 12-inch circle. Add a nice 1/4 cup or 60 mils of your sauce in the center, then using a swirling motion, spread the sauce evenly across using the bottom of a ladle or a spoon, leaving the crust bare. Whoa, hold on. You remember your ricotta that you've been draining? Take it out the cheesecloth, put it into a bowl, poke a hole in the center to break it up, add salt to taste, stir it up, and, well, taste it to make sure it has enough salt. Top with a heaping teaspoon of randomized dots of your ricotta all over the pizza. Add some fresh grated, low moisture mozzarella to your heart's desire. Look, you're gonna need at least 3 cups or 675 grams if you want these pizzas cheesy, all right? That's spread across all the pizzas, for the record. Now, evenly distribute some of your cooked bacon, a nice drizzle of extra virgin olive oil, and off into the oven. Look, when baking, my recommendation, of course, is a good quality home pizza oven. If you want it perfect, I use and highly recommend Gosney. Seriously, everyone always asks how I get my pizza the way they are. I'm using a Gosney. But look, a home oven is always a viable option. It's not gonna be the same, but if you do that with a pizza stone, then you can still have some decent pizza. Anyway, I popped the pizza. In the pizza oven at around 700 to 750 degrees Fahrenheit for 50 seconds. Isn't that funny? We're gonna spend literal hundreds of hours on this pizza just to cook it in 50 seconds. What in tarnation? Now, after the first 25 seconds, I half rotated to get the color on the other side of the crust and let it bake for another 25 to 30 more seconds. Pull it out and look at that bubbling beauty. It's almost like it's staring back at me, doing a little dance for me. Now, place it on your counter and feel free to add some fresh herbs like fresh basil, fresh parsley, maybe some lemon zest. Whoa, what's that being brushed on the crust? Is that a garlic butter? Wait a minute. That is the trick up my sleeve. Homemade cultured butter with garlic. So yes, quite literally get yourself a quart-sized container, add 1 pint or 500 mils of heavy whipping cream, add in a 1/4 cup or 125 milliliters of buttermilk, stir that 7 times exactly. And what did I say before? Remember, always label a ferment unless you want me to show up and give you a little spanking, all right? I know some of you want that. Get your mind out of the gutter, all right? Cover with cheesecloth at room temp. Use a piece of kitchen twine to tie it on and let it sit for 36 hours. After that, you now have creme fraiche, which by the way looks so beautiful I almost didn't want to do what came next. So throw it into a food processor and process on high until everything separates and you're left with, well, butter and liquid. Pour out that excess liquid, knead your butter with gloves on to squeeze out as much liquid from the butter as you can. I like to wash mine a few times in ice water as I'm doing that. Then once you've pretty much drained your butter as much as possible, plop that into a bowl, add a touch of salt to taste, 4 cloves of garlic grated, then mix together with either a whisk or gloves until thoroughly incorporated. At that point, you just heat that in a small saucepan over medium-low until melted, and as you saw, brush on the crust of one of the most time-intensive pizzas I have ever made, which after adding that butter leaves us with a grand final total of over 365 hours of commitment time. Let's just hope that it was worth it.
Pizza that took a very long time, and it smells very good. That is a good pizza. The dough is way more flavorful. I don't care if you do your dough overnight. With the sourdough, it's not sour at all, and it actually tastes like something. There's good pizza dough, and then there's this dough. It's just more. The ricotta, I guess you could buy from a store, right? And it'll probably still be just as good. The butter crust, making your own cultured butter, it's good, but probably just buying cultured butter and it's gonna be just as good. That being said, this sauce, there's nothing that could ever replace this. So to me, the pizza's worth it. Is it worth it to everybody? Maybe not, but at least try this. This is the most life-changing pizza sauce you may ever put on a pizza, period. Of course, the bacon is ridiculous, and there's no way you're gonna get this bacon at the store without making it. I'll call that a worth it. Should we bring in a taste tester? I have this lovely pizza for you.
Oh, it's evolving as I'm eating it.
Yeah, at first it's like, oh, this isn't normal pizza.
It's like at first it hits you and you're like, okay, tomato, ricotta, good dough, and then the sauce hits you. And then there's more flavor that just keeps coming.
Is this worth making for 300 hours?
Yes. Would I do it? No. But I would watch you, and did.